This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1279 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Brought to you today by Kentucky Performance Products. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Total Saddle Fit Training Tip of the Week on the Dressage Radio Show. USDF certified instructor Elisa Sydnor Romm explains her out-of-the-box technique for helping a horse who feels heavy on just one rein. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from Kentucky Performance Products.
She had waited all her life for this moment, dreaming about it since she was 10 years old. The trailer ramp touched the ground. He whinnied as she backed him out, swinging his head around to get a good look at his new home. His coat gleamed in the sun. Her love had arrived. She was breathless. He was beautiful. She could hardly wait to tack him up and start off on what she was sure would be the best times of her life. This love story is brought to you by Contribute, providing essential omega-3 fatty acids that help maintain low inflammation levels throughout your horse's body. The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Call 859-873-2974 or visit kppusa.com to order today.
Well, tonight for our Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week, we have Elisa Sydnor Romm. She's a USDF bronze, silver, and gold medalist and a certified instructor through 4th level. And she just got back from a month in Germany studying with Oliver Ulrich. Elisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are super excited to get started with our Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. So what is your tip for tonight?
My tip is for riders who experience horses that are very different feeling in the two reins. Let's say the left rein feels heavy and stiff, and the horse maybe feels too light or much lighter on the right rein. And I think a lot of times people will feel that and focus on the heavy or the stiff rein and think, oh, the horse is so heavy on the left rein, I got to bend it, I got to get it off the left rein. But it is usually the other rein that is the problem. So in this example, the right rein, they're not seeking enough. They're not drawing on that enough. So I try to tell myself when I feel that to resist the urge to bend them and get them off of the heavy rein and try to turn my focus to the other rein and get them to push more steadily into that rein and try to find a little more solid connection on that side. And then voila, the stiff, yucky rein is hopefully a little bit lighter. And maybe not immediately, but eventually.
Yeah, this is huge. This happens to a ton of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super common.
Most horses are not even in the two reins. I mean, I can think of very few horses that I've ridden over my lifetime that were totally even in the two reins. And that's our goal as a trainer, to make them as even as we can. But I think the vast majority of horses are uneven in the two reins. So it's just a way to shift your thinking also to think what to do instead of what not to do when you're thinking, oh, this horse is so heavy on this one side, and that's sort of the negative side of things. But if you can think of what to do, get them to seek the other rein, then it's a more positive way of approaching it.
When I watch a horse that has a little bit this issue, it's usually a hind leg that doesn't track as much. One hind leg that doesn't track as much as the other hind leg. So I like the idea of getting the horse to push more towards the light rein rather than pulling the horse off of the heavy rein. Right? Just different ways of saying the same thing. Exactly what you said, but I like to have a picture of what is happening underneath me that causes this problem. So do you have some specific exercises that I can think of a few, but that you would use to help with this problem?
Well, in a fairly basic way, I would say if we go back to our example of the horse that's very heavy in the left rein and not enough in the right rein, I would often then go to the right, track to the right, and make the right rein on the inside, that I can kind of turn my focus to making the horse bend around my right leg, getting that right hind underneath themselves, and find a steady contact, as steady as I can, even if it's very, very light, with the right rein, and then try to keep that connection as I go back to the left. And then I totally agree, Bill, that it's the hind legs that are probably not equally strong, and definitely in this case, you're not going to have 100% straight horse when you have this uneven feeling in the context. So wherever this specific horse needs help with straightening, probably trying to get them to carry the weight equally on both hind legs. So shoulder in, possibly with a young horse, a little bit of leg yield to get them to bring one hind leg under them more and push into the rein that they need to take more. So I would say leg yielding and shoulder in are some pretty common exercises to use. And then suppling exercises like figure eights or serpentines to try to turn your focus to getting a connection on the rein that's too light.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, my favorite exercise when I have this happen, and I have this, my Denali, who we all know is perfect. That's my special horse, Elisa. He's very strong left. And I really do a lot of leg yielding to my right rein, and especially feeling it in my right elbow. I really say, hey, you've got to take the right rein. And then in turn, I'll do kind of a leg yield zigzag with him. So I'll leg yield from left to right to the right rein. And then I'll say, okay, now we got to leg yield right to the left rein. So that's one of my favorite exercises for horses that want to be really strong on one rein or the other, and just kind of essentially forcing them with the leg yield to go to either outside rein that I need. Phil, how about you?
Yeah, I like Eliza said, it's really it's a straightness pushing problem. Depending on the level of the horse, but I like to do a little renvers, because when you do shoulder in, it can cause the horse to get even more crooked. The horse will start to sort of fall away from being underneath you and really still not taking that. So I might start in a little shoulder in, and then sort of try and really get the neck and the shoulders lined up, because I don't want really a wonky neck, because then I'll end up with a horse that's even more crooked. So I'm trying to line the horse up, and then I'll drive them really strong into the bridle, because the lateral work can cause the horse to get a little bit behind the leg, because they're set up in different angles that they're not really comfortable with. So I think it's really important, especially in the beginning when you're starting to teach the horse this stuff, is to really ride to it, right? Because in the end, you've got to make two even, strong hind legs, and so it's not really about going sideways this way, that way. They've got to really make big steps as you're teaching them lateral stuff. So I think that's really important. If in the end you're gonna come out of the shoulder in, or out of the renvers, out of the leg yield, and have a straight horse that's sort of learned to access the hind legs and the power of his own body. So I think there's a lot of ways to I've seen a lot of different techniques for fixing these problems, but I think a central theme is about riding forward and not pulling, right? I think get right back to where we started, is don't start pulling on the one rein and thinking that's going to solve the problem. The horse is just is still going to trot smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's going to get worse. I mean, you have to teach the horse how to use both hind legs really evenly, and carry himself evenly in both sides, and then you can sort of deal, if there's a bit of a stiffness problem here or there, you can deal with that. But it's about carrying power and fitness and stretching and these kinds of things that I think will get more to the root of the problem rather than sort of jabbing on the mouth, because it's not a mouth problem, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's another good way to think of it, is it's not a mouth problem. What you're feeling is the symptom in the mouth, but that's not the disease. That's not the root problem. So I think also always going back to checking on your seat and position and making sure that you're even and balanced, because usually we're not 100%. And then being able to, like you said, really push them forward into both reins and And remember that this is not something that you can fix very quickly. You're going to develop them over years into a more even contact. But you're not going to be able to get them even within one ride, for sure.
No, unless it's a saddle issue or, like you said, a rider, falling off to one side. I'm sure, we have lots of those sort of, if we have a strong side, maybe you're driving way more with your right leg than you're able to with the left. So you've got to sort of evaluate that, whether the rider is causing the problem.
And I think the horse too, it could very well be a weakness behind. You know what I mean? I think you can't discount that there could be some body issues on why the horse is doing this for one way or the other. I think you have to.
Chiropractic is an idea to think about. Yeah, that there might be a spinal something or
Yeah, I think you have to be at least sensitive to that, at least get it checked out, especially if it changes. I think that the horse can be strong, it can change, but I think that's if it becomes very strong or it's always the left rein or it's always the right rein, it may be worth also riding, but it may be also worth talking to your vet or your chiropractor and, seeing kind of as a whole unit. That would be my 2 cents to that.
Good point. Well, I think that was an awesome trainer tip, Eliza. Thank you for joining us tonight and giving us something to think about and some things to work on when we're riding. How can people find you online?
You can go to my website, which is www.elisaSydnorDressage.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Elisa Sydnor Dressage. So thanks again for having me. This was super fun.
Well, there you have it. You can find links to today's guests as well as lots more tips at horsetipdaily.com. Make sure you have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go, including Horse Tip Daily and Dressage Radio Show, by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It's quick, it's free, and it's easy. Or you can subscribe via iTunes. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Kentucky Performance Products. Find them online at kppusa.com. This is Coach Jen, and I'll be back again soon with another tip. Until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.